Just when you thought things couldn't get any worse, Bitcoin nosedives to below $96,000. What on earth is happening? Are we going to continue to free fall, or can we see a bounce from here? In today's video, we'll be talking about exactly this, going over the most recent Bitcoin price action, as we also will be looking at our key weekly invalidation level for the bull market's integrity. If you enjoy the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Without further ado, let's jump right into the video. First things first, taking a look at Bitcoin, you can see that we are now sitting below $97,000, having wicked to sub 96K. Are we just going to continue to roll over here? We have some pretty strong support levels below. Now, what I want you to consider here is my weekly invalidation level that I've been discussing on the channel for quite some time, and that is $98,000. I would not like to see us close the week where we're currently at, below $97,000. Ideally, what happens is, if I can zoom in, you will see a little bit of a wick down here, and then we end up closing the week back above 98K, and it would be even more positive if we can close back above the 50-week simple moving average. And if we go on the weekly time frame, you can see that this moving average is actually found right around $103,000. That is a pretty significant move if Bitcoin is to close the week above that level. But remember, my key invalidation on a weekly time frame basis still remains to be $98,000. Now, in the short term, can we move lower from here? There is always a possibility, especially for some people that have already considered that the bear market has started. Remember, I'm willing to pivot my stance if I get the confirmation that I need. At this point in time, we do have this yellow line all the way down here, which represents the yearly open for Bitcoin just below $93,000. Now, we also have the fact that there is a CME gap, a major level between 92 to 93K. Can Bitcoin tap into this level? Yes, there is a possibility. The thing that I want you to consider, though, is that the liquidity is continuing to pile to the upside. I would find it very difficult to believe that Bitcoin would just continue to free fall without at least, at the bare minimum, grabbing some upside liquidity. On the 1-day time frame, shorts have been piling into the market. On the 7-day time frame, shorts continue to pile into the market. And on the 30-day time frame, we are seeing so much more cumulative short liquidation leverage in the market compared to cumulative long liquidation leverage in the market. Just to give you a little bit of a reference here, on the 30-day time frame, there's around 15 billion worth of cumulative short liquidation leverage compared to 1.78 billion worth of cumulative long liquidation leverage. We're talking over 8x more cumulative short liquidation leverage in the market compared to cumulative long liquidation leverage in the market. Now, does this mean that we have to immediately pump? Of course not. There is a chance that we also continue to grab some more downside liquidity, but I would be willing to bet that if we are to bounce, it would be from around these zones. So keep your eyes on this. As I always say, if you're not a seasoned trader, it's perfectly okay to sit on your hands and wait to see what the market gives you. Ideally, on the shorter time frames here, we would like to reclaim this 98K level before getting a more significant bounce at the bare minimum up to $102,000, $103,000. That is currently what I'm looking at on the shorter time frames. However, to reiterate, if you're not used to trading crypto, simply sit on your hands because this will likely shake out a lot of traders in this market. Now, I already entered my most recent Bitcoin trade, which has been shared in my free premium group. Reminder, if you want to join, you do have the first link in my description down below. You DM me the word premium on Telegram, and I would be happy to onboard you. The only requirement is that you sign up with one of my affiliate exchange links, and we can verify that within my Telegram community and add you to the group. All you do is trade with your own capital. Therefore, this group is indeed completely free. So go ahead and sign up if that interests you. The first link in my description down below. Now, I want you to consider the fact that if Bitcoin can reclaim $98,000 and then we go ahead and end up closing back above the 50-week simple moving average, we will likely see significantly more upside. I know it's hard to believe at this point in time, but if we are to bounce, it is from around these zones. And if I can zoom out here to paint a little bit of a clearer picture, every single time that we lost the bull market support band, to repeat myself, we managed to hold on to the 50-week simple moving average. Last week, we wicked below it, we ended up closing above. This week, we have completely filled this wick, and we would like to see us close back above. Over the past few weekends, Bitcoin has indeed pumped, and then we actually pumped into the weekly close only to move lower. Speaking of moving lower, I want to discuss this, which is the fact that every single New York session, we seem to dump immediately. Yesterday, I was relatively optimistic because for the first time in a while, we started dumping before the New York session. However, we ended up just dumping even more. This is absolutely brutal. I understand it's a difficult market to trade if you are a trader, but if you use proper risk management, it's perfectly fine. Let me give you an example. When Bitcoin first came down to sub $100,000, I actually entered along right around 100K. I then took around 15% profit from my trades and moved my stop at break even. Then what happened is we ended up rolling over once more. I got stopped out at break even after securing some profits. Then I re-entered a new Bitcoin long right below $100,000, took 20% profits on the way up, which was in my most recent video where we essentially secured $20,000 in profit. Then I got stopped out at break even once more. Now I am once again entering a Bitcoin long around these regions, and I'm perfectly happy to take profits on the way up, move my stop at break even. That is proper risk management in this market. The thing is, it's going to be a very, very tricky environment. And so it's not the best environment to go ahead and say, okay, I'm going to go max swing long here. Typically, you want to take profits as we get these little pumps. Let's see how the price action develops. Ultimately, if we are to bounce, in my opinion, it would be from around these regions. Everyone is extremely bearish. Speaking of which, let's take a look at some risk metrics. The overall risk in the market is quite low, below 0.25. And if you don't understand this metric, every time we get closer to 1, that means that the market is getting extremely overheated. Price metric is down to sub 0.3. We have the on-chain metrics a little bit higher, sub 0.5. And this one, the social metric, a very, very interesting one. We're literally at 0. There is no one here in this market. And that's why I firmly believe that if you're watching these videos, even if we are to go ahead and head into the bear market, you can make some significant profits as most people gradually start to tune out of crypto. Now let's take a look at the social metric here, because this typically tells us when we can get our beloved altcoin season. The reason I do this is because if you've been watching the channel for a while, you know that I have been vocal about no strong altcoin season for quite some time because we are still in quantitative tightening, which, as a matter of fact, ends on December 1st. Now, I also wanted to discuss Bitcoin dominance, which we'll get into after this chart, but the point is, this tells us when retail has arrived. And this chart essentially covers the historical social media risk, basically covering Twitter analysts, layer ones, influencers. I'm not part of this list quite yet. By the way, thank you for subbing to the channel if you came from Altcoin Daily. If you don't know why I ended up surpassing 10,000 subscribers, it's all because of you. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for subscribing to the channel. My ultimate goal with this channel is to help you through the bull and bear market, giving you the help that I wish I had when I first joined crypto. You can make money whether the market goes up or down, and that is what I'm trying to teach you. You do not need to bag hold altcoins, that is for sure. Now, the thing that I want you to consider here is with the social media risk so low, this social metric is at absolute lows, 0. There is essentially no retail here. And so until we can start to see sustained upside here, there's a high likelihood that altcoins will not be outperforming for quite some time. I know you're probably tired of me talking about alts underperforming against Bitcoin, but because we have so many new faces on the channel, I just thought I'd like to reiterate my point. That being said, I have my Bitcoin dominance long, which I shared time and time again. The thing that's relatively interesting that I want to point out with this current price action for Bitcoin is the fact that Bitcoin dominance is kind of just chopping around. And so despite the fact that I've been very, very bullish on Bitcoin dominance, in this most recent dump, this is very interesting to see. We're potentially getting rejected at the bull market support band. Now, does this mean that altcoin season is imminent? No, that is not what I'm trying to say. But what it does mean is we could be entering a period where there is outperformance from alts compared to Bitcoin simply because altcoins have bled so much against Bitcoin. That means that even if Bitcoin does continue its correction, altcoins would likely correct a little bit less. We need to see how this plays out. Obviously, if Bitcoin absolutely nukes from here, it's at that point in time that I do think we'll likely see Bitcoin dominance continue to increase. But If Bitcoin stays stable where we're currently at these crucial support levels, and we can hopefully maintain a little bit of an uptrend here, it's highly likely that altcoins start to catch at least some kind of relative bid. I'm not super bullish on altcoins, but I just thought I'd share that with you because yes, this week, despite the dump, we are seeing a red candle for Bitcoin dominance. Let's see how the price action develops. At this point in time, I want to see Bitcoin reclaim with confidence $98,000 on the weekly level. And if you're confused as to why this level is so important, it's because this was the pivot that ended up sending us much, much higher. We do not want to confirm below there on a weekly time frame basis, but you know a lot can change in a few days. We also have the fact that this 50-week simple moving average is posing a little bit as resistance. So next up, if we are to confirm above 98K, I would like to see us go ahead and hold back above this simple moving average. What is next here? Because the liquidity would suggest that we don't have that many new longs piling into the market. On the 24-hour time frame, you can see that we essentially wiped out all of those aggressive longs. On the 12-hour time frame, a little bit shorter term here, there is not that much liquidity to the downside. Now, if we go on a weekly basis, you can see that most of that liquidity has been grabbed, and we're starting to see more and more liquidity getting piled up to the upside. Here, as we discussed previously, there is a lot more cumulative short liquidation leverage in the market compared to cumulative long liquidation leverage in the market for Bitcoin, that is. And if we take a look at Ethereum, you can see the same exact picture. Now, from a spot positioning, I am also holding most of my Bitcoin and Ethereum. I did accumulate at much lower levels. Next time around, I'll be happy to guide you exactly when I do press the buy trigger. But if you've been watching me, you know that I buy when there's extreme fear in this market. I'm not saying that I'm buying here simply because we are getting close to the end of this bull market cycle. I'm more looking for leverage trades. But the point is, if you're following the channel through bull and bear market, I will do my best to guide you exactly as to how I am personally navigating this market. I won't be shilling some bullshit altcoins like most of the channels that you likely follow. That is for sure. So from a spot positioning, I sold a little bit of Bitcoin around $125,000. Obviously, I would have preferred to sell more in hindsight, but at this point in time, I still think that we can get a bounce. The thing that I'm looking at here is not whether or not we get the bounce, but rather how high would this potential bounce go. First, we need to reclaim 98K. Then we need to reclaim the 50-week simple moving average. And if we take a look at the daily chart, you'll notice that the key level that I outlined here time and time again for Bitcoin is this $107,000 level. Until we can confirm back above 107, which seems like a stretch at this point, I don't think that it makes sense to go super aggressive with trades. Even the most recent Bitcoin trade that I just shared in my free premium group, I went ahead and only used around 2.5% of my trading portfolio, simply because I still think that there is general weakness in the market. Quite obvious, as you can tell by these weekly candles. So let's see how the price action develops. Ultimately, I am sitting on my hands still from a spot positioning, but if we start to lose $98,000 from the weekly time frame basis for Bitcoin, I will be offloading some of my Bitcoin, and that also includes some of my Ethereum. Now, what else is there to cover? Because you can see that there's some general FUD going around these levels too. Strategy apparently moved just under 40,000 Bitcoins from Coinbase Prime custody to new addresses over the past 24 hours. Most of the transactions follow an unusual pattern, raising the possibility that some coins may have been sold or transferred to a different custodian. Does this mean that Strategy are starting to sell their Bitcoin? I don't think that we can say with confidence this is the case, but we'll have to see how this develops, and I will make sure to keep you updated. I also wanted to show you this. Because we do have CME gaps below, it's likely that a lot of traders are eyeing these levels. But I also think that in the short term, there is a good chance that we do get a bounce from these levels simply because we went ahead and swept this massive pivot that ended up bringing us to all-time highs. If we end up having a wick below and we start closing candles back above here, it's highly likely that we see a little bit more of a relief rally, and that is currently how I am approaching this market, even if later on we are to go lower. I play it level by level. And as we wrap up this video, was CZ warning us all along? You can see here that he posted this tweet, 97,000 words, 300 pages, and every single time that he posts things like this, we tend to get a few hints in the market. We know that most of the selling came from Binance, and then the other exchanges followed suit afterwards. Now, We hit $97,000. We actually wicked below 96K. Does this mean that the reversal is in? Because he just came out and said, every dip, some people think it's the end of time. Time continues. Usually when he comes out with this kind of nonsense, we end up getting a little bit of a bounce. Don't believe me? You can match his tweets with the price action and you'll see that it paints this exact picture. Very interesting. I think this guy has more control of the market than most people are willing to admit. Is the local bottom in? It can't be a coincidence at this point in time if we do see Bitcoin get a more significant bounce from here. And before we wrap up the video, just remember with the second link in my description down below, you click here on Bluffin, you do get a fantastic bonus for the first 50 users that go ahead and sign up with me. You can get a 15% trading bonus cashback, which allows you to actually earn up to $3,000 in futures bonuses. Go ahead and sign up. It's only for the first 50 users. That is the second link in my description down below. And once you sign up and start trading on there, you get access to my free premium group where I share my own personal trade setups. And if for whatever reason you can't access Bluffin, I do have other exchanges in my description down below. I've actually also been trying out this DEX called Velto, pretty solid platform too. And that sums up today's quick video. I personally think that we will likely get a bounce from around these regions and I am trading accordingly. That being said, we do have CME gaps below and we also have the yearly open to consider. Let's see how the price action develops. As always, if you enjoyed the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. I'm very thankful and grateful to see so many new faces on the channel, and I hope I can provide you the value that you're looking for. I'll see you in the next video.